I'm back with another video. Seeing a mountain gorilla in the wild has been on my bucket list for a long time. Seeing as how I'm not getting any younger, I'm busy emptying my bucket. So this video is about my experience trekking the mountain gorillas in the Bwindi Impenetrable Forest in Uganda. Here we go. This trip really begins with me sitting in the airport lounge, thinking about the fact that I'm about to spend the next 36 hours on flights and in hotels trying to get to the Bwindi Impenetrable Forest in Uganda. From the airport lounge, I go and board a 14-hour flight to Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. From there, I eventually connect to a flight to Kigali, Rwanda, about a 4-hour drive from Kigali, Rwanda, and that includes the border crossing from Rwanda to Uganda. I reach the Bachika Lodge. The Bwindi Impenetrable Forest lies in southwest Uganda, bordering the Democratic Republic of Congo. There are 120 species of mammal that live in Bwindi, but people primarily come here to see just one: mountain gorillas. Half the mountain gorillas left in the world live in the Bwindi Impenetrable Forest. The Bwindi Impenetrable Forest National Park came into being in 1991. Like many national parks, there's a dark story behind it. The Bachwa people are indigenous to the Bwindi Impenetrable Forest. They have lived and survived off the forest for hundreds of thousands of years. When the decision was made to name Bwindi a national park in order to preserve the mountain gorillas, the Bachwa people were evicted from their forest home and have been marginalized ever since. The United Nations Educational and Scientific Organization, otherwise known by its acronym UNESCO, named the Bwindi Impenetrable Forest National Park a World Heritage Site in 1994. After I complete all of my equipment checks, I decide that I'm going to turn in. The next morning, my guy Chris and I have breakfast together. He drives me to the ranger station. He registers my gorilla permit, and then there I sit with others and wait further instruction. While we are waiting, there are women from the village who will come and provide some entertainment. Not long after that, ranger comes, greets everyone, and starts to give us an all you need to know presentation about what you're about to experience. He tells us, plan on getting dirty. Make sure you have water and rain gear. And when they say that, they're not playing. Bring your rain gear, it's gonna rain. And I can tell you now, it's not the place you wanna be without it. He tells us to be prepared for a long hike. There are some groups that will hike longer distances than others. It really depends on the movements of the gorilla group that you are trekking. And these treks can be strenuous. You only get to spend 1 hour with the gorillas. You are not allowed to eat or drink in the presence of the gorillas. A mask is required in the presence of the gorillas. It is a good idea to tuck your pants inside of your socks to prevent ants from crawling up your legs. I not only did that, I also wore a pair of gaiters. Wear good hiking shoes. Do not wear perfumes and or deodorants, at least while you're out here. Sound carries in this place. In other words, be quiet and make sure you've had your garden gloves, because during the hike, you're going to grab things to keep your balance, and some of those things are going to have thorns and other things on them. He tells us that if we encounter wildlife that appear to be aggressive, do not run. I probably shouldn't say this. However, most of the time when I'm going to be out around wildlife and I'm in a group, I always look around and count the number of people that I believe that I can outrun. And as long as that number is more than one, I'm good. After the briefing, we are broken into groups. Between the 4 districts in Bwindi, there are 21 habituated gorilla groups. You will be divided into groups no more than 8 people to trek one group. So if you want to do this, plan ahead and book early. The lead trekker for this group is Loreno. Along with Loreno, there are 2 armed guards in every group, 1 in the front and 1 in the back for security. We are told that they are to protect us from forest elephants or anything else that may become aggressive in the forest. Forest elephants are very aggressive towards people. If you encounter them in the forest, not a good thing. So these guys are here to protect us. From what I understand, they are only going to fire warning shots. However, they are equipped with military weapons and trained by the military. So I'm just going to leave it at that. This is also the time to hire a porter. Hiring a porter will be one of the best decisions that you will make on this day. Much of the hike in the Rohingya sector is 7,500 feet above sea level. That equipment you've been carrying around, it doesn't seem to be that heavy, is going to feel like you're carrying an elephant after about 150 feet. They will carry your equipment. They will assist you on the trail. You can hire them for a cost of $20 US a day. My porter's name was Samuel. About 30 minutes into this hike, I realized this was money well spent. This is also going to be your last best opportunity to use the restroom. Because from this point on, if you have to go, your bathroom is going to be called behind that tree. We head to the trail. The trail will carry the same name as the guerrilla group that you are trekking. Loreno explains to us how to find the guerrillas. So what happens here? In the pre-dawn hours, an advanced team of rangers will go out and go to the last location where they have spotted guerrillas the previous day. They do this every day. Once they find that guerrilla group, they radio back to the trekker. They let him know where they are located and give him some idea as to how long this hike is going to be. Guerrillas nest at night, so they will stay with them most of the day. They will find their nest at their last sighting and know that they are probably not far from that location. So after hiking for about 30 minutes, Loreno gets a message that says that the advance team has located the guerrilla group. We asked him how much further, and he says, about an hour and a half, 2 hours, we'll find them. I was okay with this, although there are some groups that had much shorter hikes. I wanted to have the full guerrilla trek experience. So that meant hiking on the trail, sliding down the hills, bushwhacking through the bush. If we saw an earthworm the size of a snake, I wanted to experience all of that. And I must say that this hike did not disappoint. About an hour and a half into the hike, the forward security guard stops and he starts to look around, and then we hear trees, branches snapping. Loreno tells everyone to be quiet because now we have come across a herd of forest elephants. Okay, here again, I know I'm not supposed to do this, but I am taking account of all the people in this group that I know I can outrun. I am an old track guy. Now, I may not be able to run like I used to, but I can still run. And although I know running is not something you're supposed to do here, I'll apologize for that later. But as it turns out, there is no need to run. But we are now going to have to make a detour. We make a detour that takes us about 15 to 20 minutes, and we see the evidence that the elephants have passed through this area. And it is now that I am glad that these two men with all this military training are with us. You could tell that they took their responsibilities seriously. Not long after our elephant detour, Loreno gets another call and says that the guerrillas are on the move and that we need to make a turn down a different trail. Except it's really not a trail. So they now pull out machetes and we start making a trail down a mountain slope so we can get to the point where we can see the guerrillas. As we get to the bottom of the slope, I can see members of the advance team and they are waving to give us their location. And it is here when Loreno says, "Put your mask on, get your cameras ready. We have found the guerrillas." My heart is jumping out of my chest. I am so excited. I'm like a 5-year-old on Christmas morning. Samuel gives me my bag. I strap my cameras onto my harness and off we go. We bushwhack for another 100 feet and Loreno points up into a tree and I see my first gorilla. A few seconds later, the members of the advance team who are also bushwhacking call me over and say, "Hey, there are more of them over here." And so what they do now is try to create better opportunities for us to view the gorillas. I cannot say enough about the job that these people did. There were 5 or 6 men and women out there who are clearly dedicated to the stewardship of gorilla preservation. They continue to point me and to guide me in the right positions to see this. and this. I count 8 gorillas. This family is led by a silverback named Kosoni. He walked by as if we were not there. And so one of the rangers decides we're going to follow him to see if we can get a better view of him. Something about gorillas, they are a bit shy. These gorillas have been habituated. They are not aggressive, but the silverbacks are always a bit defensive. So in trying to get a better view of Kosoni, as they are hacking away some of the bush, they did not realize how close we were to him. And then he reminded us that we were too close. I know they say you're not supposed to run, but when he came out of that brush, everybody was running. After Kosoni's display of power and dominance, I realized that he is very serious about protecting his family. But he settled down long enough for me to capture these. Gorilla groups have established territories. However, it is very common for gorilla territories to overlap. And while it is true that the dominant male of each family, who is called the silverback, is protective of his territory, he is more protective of his family. The gorillas may approach you, however, you should not approach them. You will find that some younger gorillas will tend to be a bit more curious, and they will approach you. They will look as if they're trying to figure out as much about you as we are about them. Humans and gorillas share 98.4% of the same DNA. The roughly 2% DNA split between humans and gorillas took place some 9 to 12 million years ago. Mountain gorillas lived to about 40 years old. The male, the silverback, will weigh on an average of 400 pounds. The males stand at about 5 feet 5 inches tall. Their arms are longer than their legs. Female gorillas weigh about 200 pounds. They stand at about 4 foot 9 inches tall. Gorillas have an 8.5-month gestation period, which is only about 2 weeks shorter than that of humans. Mountain gorillas will consume 40 pounds of food in one day. One of the ways that they hydrate themselves is through the vegetation that they consume. Something I did not know. Mountain gorillas have a bite force of 1,300 pounds per square inch. Compare that to humans, which is about 175 pounds per square inch. That lets us all know that they are serious when it comes to their eating. Mountain gorillas have fingerprints. You can identify a mountain gorilla by its fingerprints. However, they are typically identified by the size and shapes of their noses. There are 2 baby gorillas in this family. All members, including Kosoni, the silverback, will take part in raising the young. Baby gorillas will be carried on their mother's backs, or in many cases, they will just cling to their underbelly so they can nurse while she moves around. The gorillas keep moving, the rangers keep clearing, I keep following, but before I know it, the hour is up. As I said earlier, you can only spend 1 hour in the presence of the gorillas, then you turn around and start the hike back. Somehow the hike back just did not seem as long. Perhaps it was because of all the nervous anticipation of meeting this gorilla family, but it was still semi-strenuous. So just letting you know, if you want to do this sort of thing, be prepared to hike. I have posted another video. It is an all you need to know. It's a lot of practical information about how this gorilla track thing happens. If you have not done so, please watch it. When you get back to the trailhead, there will be a group of rangers there, and it is there they will present you with a gorilla tracking certificate issued by the Ugandan Wildlife Authority. A few moments after I'm given my certificate, to Loreno, talking to my porter and the 2 armed guards. We exchange information. Chris is there. He loads me and my gear back up, and we drive back to the Kachi Lodge. I get back to the lodge. I talk with some other guys who hiked to different gorilla groups, and we all talked about the experience. But one thing we all had in common, whether your trek was short or long, is that it was the experience of a lifetime. I go back to my cabin that overlooks the hills and the mountains, and I realize just somewhere out there are families of gorillas, and that I have spent time with them. It just really struck me that this is one of the few places on this earth where these creatures can exist, and how important it is that this is preserved. Thank you for watching. This has been a great experience, and I'd love to share more of my experiences with you. Please take a moment to click that like and subscribe button so I can do just that. The afternoon rain comes, and I just sit on the deck of my cabin and just look and cannot help but be fully gratified. This has been a bucket list item for decades. Here's the problem with my bucket list. Every time I check something off, I add something back. But those are good problems to have. So before I go off chasing my next bucket list item, I will leave you with these. Thank you for watching. I'll be posting another video soon. Please tune in.